Halloween, All Hallows Eve, or Samhain, is an ancient tradition now celebrated on the 31st of October. This holiday is now one of the most celebrated holidays in the world and includes some ancient traditions such as carving jack-o'-lanterns, trick-or-treating, and the iconic imagery of black cats. And Halloween is now under a week away, so I'm going to be telling 3 Halloween folklore stories. The story of Stingy Jack is one that tells us how the tradition of carving pumpkins into jack-o'-lanterns came about. In the 1600s, there was a drunken blacksmith named Jack. He was what the kids would call a dickhead. He liked to play tricks and scam the people around him, which eventually earned him the nickname Stingy Jack. He was always scheming and manipulating everyone that got in his path until one day, word of his terribleness got to the devil himself. So he put forth a plan to meet the man so evil even he, the devil, couldn't believe he existed. Satan posed as a dead man hanging in the woods until Jack approached him and noticed that this wasn't an ordinary dead man, but it was Satan staring back at him. Jack knew it was now the end of his days and that the devil was here to take him, so he asked him for one last wish, and the devil agreed. The wish was for one last drink, so Jack took the devil to the local tavern and they drank round after round all night. But when it was time to pay the tab, Jack convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin, since he was the devil after all. So the devil shifted into a coin so Jack could pay, but instead of paying, Jack put the coin in his pocket next to a crucifix, trapping the devil in a coin form. This made the devil very angry, and he tried his hardest to escape, but he couldn't. So Jack made a deal, which was he would be kept alive for 10 more years if he let the devil out of his pocket, and the devil agreed. 10 years later, it was Jack's time once again. But he asked for another final request. He asked for an apple from a tree, but when the devil climbed to go get it, he carved crucifixes into the trunk, trapping the devil up in the tree. With the devil having no other choice, Jack was able to strike another deal with him. This time, it was for his soul to be spared from hell. Now Jack lived many years knowing he played the devil twice, and no matter what he did, his soul was safe from hell. So, for all that time, he continued his shenanigans with any and everyone, until one day he finally died, after all that drinking caught up to him, and since he was such a cruel man, he was not allowed into heaven. So he tried to enter hell, but the devil was a man of his word and would not let him in. But the devil did grant Jack one burning ember for his very long journey in front of him. This now meant that Jack was forced to wander around the earth for eternity with nothing but a burning ember. He decided to put it in a hollowed and carved out turnip for light. Many people saw Jack's ghost roaming around with his turnip light for years, so they decided that on October 31st, the day when the dead can cross into the world of the living, that everyone should carve terrifying faces into turnips and put them out in front of their houses with lights in them to scare Jack and other spirits from visiting their homes. As time passed and things evolved, people turned from carving turnips to carving pumpkins and gave it the name Jack-O-Lantern. Oh, so that's where the Jack came from. Interesting. Everyone always sees the black cat everywhere on Halloween and wonders how that sick-ass vintage black logo came about. Well, in Celtic folklore, there is a creature called a cat Sith, which is a black cat with a white spot on its chest. It was believed that the cat was actually a fairy shapeshifted into a cat who would roam the land looking for souls to steal. They would do this by hanging around recently deceased burials, waiting for the burial ceremony, as it was believed that was when the soul went from the living to the afterlife. Another story goes that witches can choose to turn into a black cat up to 9 times, but once they turn into a cat for the 9th time, they are stuck as a black cat forever, which is where the saying of cats having 9 lives comes from. Also, since cats are nocturnal creatures, they have a natural glow to their eyes in the night, especially when a different light is shining on them, which seemed to back up the claim of black cats being witches. Another version of this myth is that black cats would roam the land, going to each house during the festival of Samhain, looking for a saucer of milk. If the people at the home left a saucer of milk, they would be granted good luck for the winter. But if they didn't, then their cows would be cursed and unable to produce any more milk, causing famine for the home. There are tons of stories that claim the backstory of black cats, but these are by far the 3 most popular and known stories. Over 2,000 years ago, there was a Celtic tradition called Samhain, which we talked about earlier. As you know, on this day, spirits were able to roam the earth freely. But that scared people, and they were thought that the only way to ward off these spirits and to protect themselves was to dress up and wear costumes of scary faces and people to help them blend in and not be noticed by the spirits. That's how costumes came about. But for the treats being given out, that started in the Middle Ages when on October 31st, poor individuals would offer to exchange a treat, like a dance, song, or prayer, in exchange for money or food. Fast forward to the 19th century, there wasn't a specific name given to this activity done around Halloween time, but people would give out soul cakes and bob for apples. The official use of the name trick-or-treat came in 1927, when the phrase was used in a Charlie Brown comic. Fast forward to after World War II, massive suburban neighborhoods sprouted all over the US, creating a perfect environment for trick-or-treating, and that's when people changed from passing out homemade treats to store-bought candy. And nowadays, 600 million pounds of candy is bought each year in America. So that's gonna do it, y'all. This is obviously a different type of video. There is not a horror movie mentioned here, but all horror fans love Halloween, right? Halloween is what got me into horror, and I love the day and the time of the year so much. Please let me know if y'all like this type of video and if you would like to see any more Halloween lore videos in the future. Thank y'all so much for watching, and have a blessed day. Peace.